scared. It's all I don't know what that means. Back to the crib, I ain't back to the game. Number one draft pick, who's on your team? For the price of winning, you pay the game. Just score a touchdown, fans are screaming. Play that deep, keep your head in the game. Cause win or lose, man, you're still a champion. Gotta stay focused, bring home halfway. It's all I don't know what that means. Back to the crib, I ain't back to the game. Number one draft pick, who's on your team? For the price of winning, we pay with the game. Just score a touchdown, fans are screaming. Play that deep, keep your head in the game. Cause win or lose, man, you still a champion. Gotta stay focused, bring home halfway.
What's up, y'all? What's up? This is your boy. You're back live for episode 2 with Sports Talk with former New York Jet wide receiver Tavon Mason. And I'm starting to like this thing. I've been jumping in some Twitter chats. Shout out to Ashley Baker for starting a chat yesterday I got into, and today after that Cincinnati Bengals Chiefs game. That was crazy. So, hey, I do have to say I went 1 for 1. My brother Mark, I give you half of the push-ups we had bet on who's going to make it to the Super Bowl. I picked the Chiefs and the Rams. Mark, he picked the Bengals and the 49ers. So we have a split. So I'm going to give him half of those push-ups that I bet, that we had betted on. But y'all, here we are tonight after a crazy championship Sunday that nobody would have thunk of in probably a million years, especially that first game. But before we get into that before we get to that Chiefs and Bengals game, I apologize. Let's talk about Rams and 49ers. That game, to me, played out how it should have played out. I thought it would start fast for the Rams. I was a little worried about Stafford. Stafford has had times where he throws interceptions, and when he started throwing interceptions, the game goes far left. We saw in the Tampa Bay game, as the game got late, I believe McVay got a little too conservative and laid back with play calling, took the ball out of Kupp's hand and put it in Stafford and Akers' hand. And we saw Akers had 2 fumbles last week that were costly that got Tampa Bay back in the game. And if you remember, on that drive where the Rams did kick the field goal to tie it before going overtime, if y'all remember, Stafford fumbled actually, but he was able to get the ball back. And here we are. The Rams was in the NFC Championship game against the 49ers, Jimmy G and the 49ers. A lot of people, even some people I know who are 49er fans, they were worried, a little worried, a little shell-shocked about what Jimmy G would do. And the 49ers were coming out rolling. They had Debo all over the place. I definitely talked with my brother, and we just kind of like chuckled at you had running backs on the 49ers, but we was wondering or asked ourselves, do the 49ers even trust their running backs because they put Debo back at the running back position, man. It's a multi-purpose guy, definitely to have him playing all those positions in the NFL. Remind me of, I believe, Troy Brown when he's with the New England Patriots, when they put him on the defensive side. But again, do you trust your running backs or don't you trust your running backs? I don't want to stir that pot up, but just saying. But anyway, the Rams went in at the half. 49ers came out and it started moving it. 49ers moving it. Defense was moving it. Stafford looked like Stafford that we thought. A lot of throws that I didn't understand why we were throwing and why he was throwing those throws downfield. And late in that game, could have been an interception by the 49ers that could have closed that deal and sealed the deal for the 49ers, and it went right through the hand. So again, I know a lot of people put Stafford on a high pedestal, and he does have his moments, but at the same time, he still reminds me of the Stafford from Detroit, where he have those 4,000 yard seasons, but he also have those games where he's clicking, then he throw an errant throw, or he throws it behind, or he throws a pick. One thing that looked very, very, very bad to me is just how Sean McVay called that on that 4th and 1 play where they called a quarterback sneak, and it just looked like Stafford was scared or running with his eyes closed to try to get the first down and then have no push at all like other quarterbacks has had. But at the end of the day, what came out real big was that Rams defense. Also, sorry to say, but Jimmy G showed up in that last drive. I know people are going to say, well, he got rushed. The pocket got collapsed. The pocket was collapsed. But at some point, you got to take a sack. And one of those throws where he threw when he ran into Von Miller and Aaron Donald, he just threw the ball up for grabs and it got tipped and an interception. And that ended the game, was still the game for Stafford. But so, we're going to go hats off, applause to Stafford and the Rams, especially for Stafford being his first year with the Rams to make it to the Super Bowl. Y'all probably don't even realize this, though. But OBJ came on board with the Rams at the right time. And who did they get out of retirement to come play in that defensive secondary? None other than the probably going to be a Hall of Famer, Eric Weddle. Just joined the team not too long ago. And here he goes going to the Super Bowl after retiring 2 years ago. Was sitting home and they said on TV that this dude's playing pickup basketball. And here he is going to the Super Bowl back with the team who he was with before with the Rams. No, going with the Rams. I apologize. He's with the Chargers first, but going with the Rams. So again, that game was sealed. The Rams are going to the Super Bowl. I'm definitely happy for Aaron Donald. I was definitely upset and didn't understand what Sean McVay was doing. Would keep trying to make these challenges, using up the timeout. Sometimes I think he's too smart for himself. He overthinking instead of just letting the game come to him, which could have been chaos if the Rams wasn't able to get down the field like they did with OBJ, also with Cooper Kupp. Man, that man is ridiculous. He is a monster. He's a killer. Definitely going to have to be a household name like your Jamar Chases and your Tyreek Hills, Jefferson with the Vikings and so forth. But, the Rams came out on top 20-17, 2 tight games today. But so let's move on. The game that everybody watched that we probably thought should have been a primetime game, but with the West Coast, you got to have a later game. This game was at 3:00. The Bengals versus the Chiefs. Coming in, and even myself, I thought that the Chiefs would win. I didn't think that the Chiefs would blow the Bengals out. I think the Bengals had a little bit more, even though them being young and playing how they played the last couple of weeks, their offensive line playing like they played. I just thought that the Bengals will give them some, and then the Chiefs will prevail. The crazy thing, though, if y'all saw in the first half, the Chiefs was running and gunning. It looked like the Mahommes from last year or 2 years ago when they were just getting the ball out. But one thing that I saw to close out that first half, I think that put a stunt in a block up for the Chiefs was that last drive to close out the first half. It definitely wasn't smart ball management by Mahommes and the Chiefs, and some of the play calling just wasn't right. Going into that last play with 5 seconds left on the clock, you swing the ball out to Tyreek Hill out on the island with 2 to 3 defenders, and you basically saying just get in the end zone. I didn't understand why wouldn't you take a chance in the end zone or throw the ball away, which least would left 2 to 3 seconds on the clock. That way you can get your field goal kicker out to go in the half up even more. But it just kind of like boggled me that they decided to run that play. Coming out in the second half, I go back, the Chiefs came out blazing in the first half, but couldn't capitalize on good field position before the half to score. And that's what I just talked about. The decision to throw it to Hill with 5 seconds instead of in the end zone, again, like I said, to keep some time on the clock to kick a field goal, I didn't understand that call. But you did see in that first half, the Bengals showed some glimpse of moving the ball, but stalled out, again, whether it was field goals or having a punt. That second half was a different thing. It was like a flip-flop, a super flip-flop. You know what I mean? The Chiefs came out stalled. They were dry on the offensive side. And we know if the offense can't move the ball, the defense is going to have trouble. And we saw that in that second half. Between Hardman and Tyreek Hill arguing, Hardman went the ball. more. And at this time, when you playing it on this level and you in that championship game, that's not the time to stick your chest out and say, I want the ball. I know I was on the sideline. Nobody was on the sideline, but watching it from the television perspective. But when you see both of them going back and forth, you know it's something. And I think that wasn't the time to do that. The Bengals came out with a different animal, so to speak, a different type. They came out with a big tiger. There was a big dog in the second half. Holding Mahommes and that offense scoreless in the third quarter. Interception that put the Bengals in great field position by B.J. Hill, which again, you know, I think Mahommes was overthinking too much. I know Mahommes like to throw the ball. We're in a time now where throwing the ball and passing the ball is a lot better and it's more exciting. Just run and instead of just running the ball. But on that RPO, instead of passing it, if he would have gave it, it would have allowed the Chiefs to live another down. And shout out to B.J. Hill, give him a clap for that one. Swatted the ball, popped the ball up in the air, got the interception, and the Bengals were able, because they were using Joe Mixon, which I said they should do more of using Joe Mixon. It made the Chiefs get out of that double coverage, or a coverage I like to say. I used it recently with coaching in high school. I call it Tom and Jerry, like a trap. They was playing that bracket coverage, man over help on top of Jamar Chase. They were able to make Tyrann Mathieu come down, and they had Tyrann Mathieu. They still were shredding it, but they made Tyrann Mathieu come down, so that left Fenton one-on-one, and they just use and abuse Fenton. I'm sorry, Fenton, but they use and abuse you. If it wasn't Higgins, it was Jamar Chase, and they went down, and you saw Jamar Chase get that jump ball, man. Shout out to Jamar Chase, a rookie coming in, his first year going to the Super Bowl. Shout out to Joe Burrow as well. Came in, was drafted, had a bad year, I believe 4-11 and 1. The next year he goes out, tears his knee up, you know what I mean, and come back out after having his knee surgery. They get Jamar Chase. They build up on that defense. I mean, they still working on that O-line, and here we are. You know what I mean? So, the Bengals had the Chiefs on the ropes that whole entire third quarter, and it just did not look good at all. So, a lot of us, and including myself, like, all right, it's the fourth quarter. The Chiefs have moments where they stall out a lot and they click it back in gear. But the fourth quarter, they just could not get it together. The Bengals kept momentum in the start of the fourth with good defense, especially with that secondary, forcing important sacks on 2 different drives, forcing 3 and outs for the Chiefs. And it's very rare that we see 3 and outs. And if y'all think about it, if you watch that game, Tyreek Hill was MIA in the second half. You know what I mean? Especially in that fourth quarter, they barely even went his way. And that played a factor. And when you take that type of guy out of it, what are you left with? You're going to try to force the ball. You know what I mean? The Bengals held that ball for a while, driving down the field with 4 minutes on the clock for Mahommes. Mahommes and the Chiefs had some momentum in that drive, but costly decision by Mahommes again, holding the ball, running around in circles, losing ground. The Bengals were able to force a field goal to put the game in OT. And we saw last week against the Bills that, Mahommes and them winning the overtime coin flip, they were able to go down and win. But one thing that I noticed that was different from fourth quarter last week against the Bills and the fourth quarter this week was the swag of the Chiefs. You know what I mean? They were more calm and more poised, driving on that 10-second drive to get the field goal than this week. Last week, they were snapping it, going back, bam, down the field and get field goal position. This week, in the third and fourth quarter, they were flat. Mahommes wasn't on it, and it wasn't a good look. So I got a crazy stat for you guys that I saw. I was on Instagram. So Mahommes stats for the first half, he was 85.7 for his complete percentage. He had 220 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He had a quarterback rating of 149.9, so basically 150. All right. Second half, Now, this is crazy. This is the thing that tripped me out. In the second half, his completion percentage was 44.4. So over half, it dropped over half. He had 55 passing yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So this including the overtime. Now, I didn't get to the overtime yet, but including the overtime. And his quarterback rating was a 12.3. So you can just see like how much that was a huge drop, and that was a huge effect, because if the offense can't move and groove and Mahommes can't do the Mahommes thing, the defense gonna have their back against the wall. They got a strong defense, but it's not strong enough to dig out that hole. So in the overtime, the Chiefs for a second week wins the toss, right? I said that, right? So everybody, including me, even them, you saw them celebrating on the sideline like, yeah, we got this, we're gonna win. The Chiefs start the OT the same way they played the second half, in the slump. Mahommes, the first pass, almost picked off. Apple, you should have had that, man. Eli Apple should have had that pick. That ball was behind. Come back the next play and try to force it into Tyreek Hill in the double coverage. What happened? Ball get popped up. It's intercepted. Brought back to the middle of the field. The Bengals took over and they moved the ball perfectly. Again, they got Matthews to come down out of that bracket coverage or that man over coverage and forcing the corners to play. They went down with slants against Fenton again. And they use Mixon. Mixon is that equalizer. We know Jamar Chase does his thing, but Mixon, if you get Mixon rolling 3 to 6 yards a carry, that's the equalizer. Got him all the way down, and they brought in the dog, man. And most times you talk about a dog, you're talking about a quarterback, you're talking about wide receiver, you're talking about somebody in the defense, but I'm talking about McPherson. Took them to the Super Bowl with a guaranteed field goal kick. So here we go. Cincinnati haven't been to the Super Bowl since the 90s. Against Joe Montana, that they would have came through and ran through the AFC North like they did week after week in other people's home. So basically, they took the AFC North Championship in the playoffs on the road. Tennessee took them out of there, right? They come to KC, got them out of there, right? Raiders got them out there, right? So they're definitely going to be a problem, for those teams in the AFC North, the Ravens. We know the Steelers going to be rebuilding. Big Ben just retired, and for the Browns. But props and shout out to Joe Burrow. You know what I mean? A kid that moved around in college a lot, got settled in LSU, won a national championship. He gets to Cincinnati. 2 rough first seasons. Come this third season, he's back clicking. Got his guy Jamar Chase. O-line stepped up big in this game, and y'all just heard what I said about Mahommes' stats in the second half. And we got to do the hats off to Cincinnati's defense. They stood up and they stepped to the challenge and they shut down the Chiefs in the second half. So it seems like with me, and my thought is the Chiefs are two extremes. It's either they hot or they like frigid. And we just saw, and I just told you what Mahommes' numbers were, and it looked like this was going to be a track meet. I didn't think, and I didn't think that they would blow them out, but I thought that they would beat them, and I thought that the Bengals would rev up for next year for them being young. But them boys come to play, and I can't wait to see how the Super Bowl is going to be. Joe Burrow, Aaron Donald, Von Miller, and see how they play this thing. But again, this is episode 2. Thank you to everybody who watched episode 1, and I will be coming back again live. This is your boy, Tavon Mason, former New York Jet wide receiver, coming to you with Sports Talk with Tavon Mason. And I'm saying like this, peace.